Welcome everybody to which will be a regular session on Panahi losing it. I find Rita Panahi so entertaining that sometimes it makes me want to show a little bit more of her idiocy. And I'm about to show you another example of that in just a moment. So I'm going to have this regular section, which is called Panahi losing it, because she loses it a lot. And some of the things that she says just don't make sense. And I've got an example of that I'll show you in just a moment. So she's going to talk here about affordability and cost of living in the United States. And the thing I want to emphasize here is that there's no way in the world that they will ever talk about the despicable behavior of Donald Trump. And particularly, they will never ever talk about the disappointing and disgraceful results that are coming out in the Gallup polls in relation to Trump's popularity. But this issue around petrol, which is raised by Panahi, is somewhat of an issue, mainly because petrol goes up and down. Today, in where I live in Adelaide in South Australia, the petrol price is down to $1.59, $1.61, which is much lower than it has been. And so I was wondering, how does this petrol price fluctuate? And I guess the reality is that there are many elements which may cause it to fluctuate. For example, the OPEC decisions, where they kind of turn the tap on and off, is often the case. There's war or geopolitical tension, Ukraine, so forth. Oil being sold by Russia is a natural one. Natural disasters affect production. Global demand, where there's a booming economic need for fuel and so forth, is another. Currency exchange is another. Refinery supplies, refining costs fluctuate, shipping costs fluctuate. So I guess what I'm saying is that there are lots of variations as to why petrol prices go up and down. So because petrol prices in the United States, according to Panahi, have gone down, and according to CNN, as I'll show you in a moment, also say that they've gone down, doesn't necessarily mean that Trump's doing well. In fact, we'll have a look at that also. So I'll just take you to Rita, and you can make up your own mind as to whether this is her losing it over something which is quite inconsequential, really.
Now, let's discuss the cost of living. And
I don't know who this dude is that they have on here, some whiz kid, I'm assuming, from the right of politics, so they just have these random dudes who appear on Sky News as their experts. I don't know where they dig them up from, but here he is.
Here is CNN bringing some good news, and this must have hurt them.
Some states seeing gas prices below $3 for the first time in years. Let's get to CNN's Matt Egan for the good news on this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to finally be here with some good news on the cost of living front. So for the first time in 4.5 years, gas prices are averaging $3 a gallon nationally, according to AAA.
CJ, that report went on to say that there are 20 states across the country where the average price of gas is less than $2.75.
Right, and there's, as I said before, there's a whole host of reasons why prices fluctuate. None of them necessarily have got anything to do with Donald Trump. Yet, when one looks at CNN again and starts to look at some of the issues that Trump has been facing and how Trump fares in politics, and this is the side. So they quote CNN in relation to their comments with regard to petrol, but they're not talking about Trump in relation to how he's faring in the polls. So we have this take on that.
Is a new sign for President Trump and the Republican Party, and it's a warning. A fresh poll from Gallup is out that could put Republicans on shaky ground in the midterms if the president's approval rating is an indicator of how they'll do. CNN's chief data analyst, Harry Enton, is here. All right, give us the goods on what this new Gallup poll says.
I mean, it's a disaster if it holds towards the midterm elections. And I should note, of course, it's not alone. I mean, just take a look here. This is Gallup. This is the longest running poll. You know, Gallup has been conducting polls since my father was a kid, and my father was born in 1927, had me in the 60s. Look at this. In January, Donald Trump's net approval rating, not too bad, not too great. It was at -1 point, right within the margin of error, breaking even. But look at this now. Negative 24 points, way, way down. We're talking about a drop of over 20 points in the wrong direction for the President of the United States. Minus 24 points, that's a 23-point move.
So the issue here is that we're having a so Panahi's talking about petrol prices, which fluctuate everywhere for the reasons I've just outlined. But what they're not talking about is the disaster polling of Trump and how that's faring in relation to the economy, in terms of immigration, in terms of the ICE raids, the destruction of boats in the Caribbean Sea. There's lots of issues happening which are not discussed. And I find this extremely funny. So while Panahi is having a spit about the lowering of petrol prices, they do not talk about all the other issues that are paramount issues in the United States, which will mean that next year in the midterms, the Democrats are likely to take over the Senate and the House. But they're not going to talk about that because the reality is that Panahi is not an honest journalist. She is a con person who wants us to believe in her version of losing it, which is the left's losing it, when in actual fact it's Panahi who's losing it. Now, Panahi will play videos of, a left-wing person, a TikTok version, I guess, of the left wing. She'll play that version, and that's all she plays. And that is her version of losing it. I'm playing you Panahi losing it here because she quoted CNN when she's talking about petrol, but didn't refer to CNN when they're talking about the disaster, which is the Gallup poll referring to Trump's decline. So, interesting take. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Doesn't cost you anything. I know I really do appreciate it. And make some comments below and make sure that you share my videos as well. Take care, everybody.